How's it going, guys? It's Adrian from PengPiratesTCG, and we're back with another video. Today we're just going over like a really fun game that I played on the sim today, playing Whitebeard, and I was just playing this because I think the Moby Dick version of this deck is just really fun. I'm gonna go second and just pass my turn. I don't have the Moby Dick in hand, and this guy's playing Kaido and OP02, which I found was just super interesting, so I wanted to show you guys this game. He's actually just going to swing 5k into my leader, just, I don't know, to see if I counter out. And then he's going to play the Onigashima. And then I'm just going to swing 6k at him, maybe get like a 2k out of his hand. And because I have the Atmos in hand that I want to play. And I honestly think Kaido is not the worst matchup into Whitebeard, just because like your guys are so big. And they could also just like pop things like Atmos and Kingdu, which usually stick on the board for other, for other decks since they're such high attack. So I'm gonna play the Atmos here, go down to 4 life, and then like you see he has 6 Dawn, so he could be able to like just pop the Atmos, but he doesn't have it, so he's just gonna play the Queen, go Dawn -1, get rid of a Hell's Judgment. I don't know if I agree with getting rid of a Hell's Judgment though. I feel like that's just like a really good card to have in the late game and kind of the mid game, because then he could just start like controlling board and really messing up my turns. So I'm just gonna go -4,000 attack on the Squad, play a Vista here. It's because I really want that early game damage, right? So I have a 6k attack that I'm gonna do, try to get a card out of his hand, or he just takes a life, and then I'm just gonna do another 6k. And then he's just going to give me a Shiki, and I'm going to drop down to 2 life, which honestly, 2 life, I have a lot of cards in hand. No Moby Dick yet, which feels kind of bad, right? Because if I had Moby Dick in hand, I might be a little open to like taking another hit. But I think he's probably going to swing at the Atmos, honestly, because, it's better to swing at the Whitebeard players' like characters most of the time, just because he's gonna take the life each turn anyway, so it's really good if you could just like take the board instead. But he's just kind of thinking about his turn now. It looks like he is on 8 Dawn, so there's not a lot he can really do aside from like maybe 6-drop King. He can't 9-drop Kaido me, so going for board here probably is, yeah, he's just gonna swing 6k into my Atmos. I don't think it's a bad play, to be honest, but I mean, his hand must not be the best if he's doing this play, so I'm just gonna counter out with a Vista, and then he's going to attach 4 and swing 9k, and I'm thinking about countering out here, just because having the Atmos in hand is going to be very useful. So I do end up countering out with 2 2Ks. I don't know if that was the right play. I actually don't think it is. Looking at my hand and kind of the fact that I don't have the Moby Dick, it could potentially be okay, because I think I did it because it's obvious to me that he doesn't have a lot of good plays in hand. So I want to protect the Atmos so I can kind of utilize it to its best potential and like swing or get the maximum amount of swings. Sorry. But yeah, I don't know if that was necessarily the right play. So I'm just going to swing 3k Vista into his Hannibal. And I don't think he should really like counter out of this, right? Because, I mean, it's not that important to keep a 2k power against like all of these huge beat sticks. Personally, I would not waste like a 2k on this. But, he lets that go through, of course, which I think, you just have to do. But I'm probably going to end up dropping the Kingdu here. I just want to make sure that I'm going to be allocating my Dawn correctly. And you always want to swing first. Like, if you're going to play a character and you're going to attack with your characters and your leader, I always recommend swinging first, because it makes the turn like a lot more ambiguous to what you have. So they might end up making mistakes in the countering, maybe use cards that they shouldn't have. And I just always recommend it, just to like stay more elusive and kind of unpredictable, right? Because you don't really want to like play all of your Dawn to where your turn is gonna end up being predictable, right? So I'm swinging double 7k here. He took 2 life, I think. And then he's just going to counter out of the 7k attack. And I'm going to play the King Do, leaving 1 up for Radical Beam just in case things get dicey. And they are about to. So he's going to swing. He's going to play the 9-cost Kaido, get rid of my King Do. This is a huge swing turn for him. And he's just going to swing into the Atmos. And I have to think about, you know, whether I want to Rad Beam this because, you know, I still don't have Moby Dick on board, so it's kind of difficult to tell, you know, what the right play is. It's just a 6k, but it's kind of hard because, you know, the Vista is pretty useless in my hand, and I am going to end up taking, you know, this life anyway. So yeah, I'm just gonna let it go though. You know, I want to keep the Radical Beam for late game. It's going to be very useful, like when, you know, he's swinging in for a game. It's going to make his turns a lot more complicated. And then, you know, I don't think there's a lot of 1-cost plays for Kaido players except for Hannibal. So swinging 1 into, or attaching 1 Dawn and swinging 6k isn't the worst play, but honestly, I think he should go for board here. Like, he has 1 Dawn. If he doesn't have the Hannibal and he does end up like attaching and swinging, I do recommend that you would go for board here because I think, you know, he's thinking about what to swing at. And if you swing, like, let's see what he swings at here. Yeah, he's going to swing at the Vista, which is pretty smart. Personally, for me, I might have swung the Squad just to see if, like, the Whitebeard player will give a 2k instead. But, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. You get an attacker off board. And you just never really want to swing. The wrong play there for him would be, you know, attach 1 swing into my face because I already have the 1 life that I'm going to take at the end of my turn. I see this all the time with people playing against Whitebeards. So I'm just going to swing 5k here. But I see this all the time, like this mistake all the time, where they will waste an attack, especially like if you're wasting attack with a character, right, on my last life. And I'm like, okay, that's fine because, you know, I like that I get to see this card. And I'm not seeing it at, you know, the end of my turn. I could plan my turns around it. And then, like, 1 more character is rested, right? So I'm going to swing 5k at his face. He's just going to counter out 1k with a Domino. Don't know if that's the best play. I mean, it's probably fine just because, you know, he's low life. So the blocker might be a little bit more scary to him since, you know, I run cards like Vista and Seaquake. But who knows? But yeah, this is me just thinking about, you know, should I just attack fully into this Kaido? And I decide that I should. You know, I can, with looking back at it, I don't know if it's really the best play. Because then, you know, I have Rad Beam, Guard Point. And then I think I'm just going to play like a Chopper here. I think what I was thinking about was like, you know, I would play a Chopper and then Guard Point plus Radical Beam, like Jozu and Vista. Like, even if he retaliated with like a 6-cost King popping my Chopper or like a 7-cost King popping my Chopper, like I would still end up countering out of it. But yeah, he does have the 7-cost King in hand. But yeah, that was just a gamble that I took last turn, so... But that did end up kind of paying off, right? So that's good for me. Because he would have... him blocking that swing would have required that he had exactly like 2 2Ks at least and a 1K, which I was kind of banking that he didn't since he countered so much early game. But yeah, so I'm just going to swing 7K. And he's going to swing... Or he's going to block out with a 2K and a 1K. And then I'm just going to kind of block her up here. I have 5 Dawn left. Gonna play the Chopper and then just leave 4 Dawn up. Kind of bluff that I have more counters or more events that I have in my hand, right? Because I don't really want to play anything like the Otama. He plays the Who's Who, which I was not expecting at all. So that's really tough for me because, you know, that chopper was supposed to be like very hard to deal with or like annoying, but it ends up just getting popped pretty easily. He's gonna swing 8k, gets a little bit lazy with allocating his Dawn. I'm just gonna guard point that, and then he's going to swing 9k, and with that I'm just gonna block with the Marco, and then of course use the Seaquake here. And that's just better than using one of my event cards because you know, the Seaquake is getting less and less relevant the later the game goes on, and I already have Vista in my hand if I really need to like get rid of a blocker, right? So I'm just gonna swing 9k into this king. I do this because you know, he used 2 counters or like a 2k and a 1k last turn. The likelihood that he has counters is probably really low for this, so you know, going for this 9k swing isn't too bad, especially since it's gonna be taking off a big threat off the board, because I really need to start like considering poking him since I need to land 3 hits on him, right? So with that being said, like I'm just gonna play the Atmos here, and then I'm kind of looking at what cards that I've already used. But yeah, playing the Atmos so I can just get another attacker on board. Still no Moby Dick, so you know, this it's not going too well. But then he has another 9 cost Kaido, and he pops my Marco here, which is really tough for me to deal with. And this play is like really rough. I actually thought I would just lose the game here, but I think popping the Marco like isn't, you know, the smartest idea, just because like at least with the Atmos you guarantee that something is off board now, you know. So that, you know, not popping the Atmos is a huge misplay in my opinion, because he could still lose, you know. So he's swinging 6k here, and I decide, you know, I'm just probably gonna counter out with the Otama, and then I have the guard point and the radical beam in hand, and I just have to go for game next turn, right? So I get those, and then, you know, he's fully tapped out, and I have 3 swings on the board, so it's still not too bad. I also have the Jozu in hand, which gives me an extra attacker, but then I end up top decking the Moby Dick. Really lucky. I wish I could see like what was in his hand to see if this Moby Dick top deck mattered, but it's just, this Moby Dick was just super clutch, because then now I could just swing 7k into his face. And this is what I mean, like, you know, you should get rid of the Atmos in this situation, because now I have an extra swing. It has turned into, Atmos is now an 8k swing with Moby Dick. Like, you already know that I'm probably going to res the Marco if you pop it. So of course I'm just going to swing 7k with the Marco. He has 3 cards in hand. I don't think there's any type of math that wins him the game here, because especially since I have the Jozu in hand. So I'm just going to swing 8k at him. He needs 2 2k counters for this, and if he ends up doing it, he just loses, because I have the Jozu, right? I'm trying to kind of bait him into using the counters, but he doesn't have it. And then I'm just going to play the Jozu for the remaining turn, and that's going to win me the game. So I hope you guys liked watching the video today, guys. I really wanted to show you guys this because it was so close, and there were so many like decisions here and there that, like, you know, could have swung the game in his favor or my favor. But, you know, as always, like, it's always about like those 1 or 2 decisions you make when you have such a close game like this. That's why I love One Piece. Like, the decision making is just great. But, you know, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and good luck with, you know, your school, your work. If you're on break, have a great break. Rest up, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.